Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're talking about the one and only Turbo Toad token, right? Our beloved Toad. Listen, we are currently at 113,000 followers, 113,400 followers if we're being technical, right? And ladies and gentlemen, we can see if we go to our beloved Turbo that we are ranked 155 in the world, 0.0048 price, 336 million market cap, 76 million volume in the last 24 hours. Okay. Now, while this does get pulled up, I want to compare Turbo to a very similar chart in the name of Pepe. Right? When we go and look at Pepe, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that we are in a very similar boat as Pepe, right? We can see it. Right? We have these nice tops. All right, we have Pepe kind of just making a recovery. It has a high and then it has a little bit of a lower high, just kind of like the way Turbo did. I mean, Turbo technically peaked higher than this point, but then the way it closed was lower, right? We can see structure is near identical, which is what I love to see, right? You know me, that when coins have a similar structure, it makes me happy because it just means that the good market manipulation is on our side. It really is. Now, for me, this kind of reminds me of us being somewhere in this type of area, right? You see this line over here where things had some high points, but they were down from their original highs. And then you can see it just drastically start to go up over the next couple months. That's what I see Turbo as, right? Turbo had the same thing where it had, a little bit of nice valleys and then it just started to pump and roar. So very nice, very nice. And since I'm making this comparison, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we have 10 times less volume than Pepe, but if we were to 10x our market cap, we would be at 3.3 billion, and while Pepe is at 4.7. So our ratio is better, right? Our ratio is better. I'm also curious to see what Pepe holders are at. We can see in terms of our holders, we do this every so often where we go up a decent amount, we drop a little bit, and then we just start climbing again. We just start climbing again. And every time we've seen this, we've kind of seen a rally after this, right? We kind of see this. So we are at the all-time high of 56,752 holders. Pepe does have roughly what 8 times more. If I bring up a calculator, right? If I bring out the calculator, we could see, ladies and gentlemen, 471,207 divided by how many do we have? 56,700 divided by 56,752. So they do have 8.3 times. So yeah, roughly 8 times. So yeah, not bad, not bad. But ladies and gentlemen, this is good, right? This is good. You gotta remember, coins like Pepe are going to peak earlier than our beloved Turbo, which is a good thing because that means the money from Pepe is going to start getting fluctuated into coins like Turbo. And if we are very similar, right? If we are Pepe's competition, or we're mini Pepe in some people's eyes, or we can get to Pepe's current market cap, then a chunk of those Pepe wins, will be coming to Turbo. And that is just a reality, right? That is just a reality. Listen, we have a very important monthly close at our hands right now. Okay. Well, I upload this a little bit later today because I wanted it to be more accurate. But ladies and gentlemen, we can see that as of right now, if we go to the closes, that the July candle is, as of right now, above this April big candle, which we need, right? We need in terms of structure. We need it in terms of fundamentals. We have this bottom over here. We have a higher bottom. So that's awesome. We have this high over here. And as of right now, we have this higher high, right? We, at the worst case scenario, can only afford to go and be a double top. So if we did go down, maximum we can go down is 7% over the next few hours, right? But ladies and gentlemen, the moment we get into August, it doesn't really matter what happens as long as we kind of print a similar candle to this, okay? So yeah, I overall expect August to be a good month for us. I overall expect for us to continue to mainly go to the upside. I mean, when we look at the structure over here, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that we finally reacted off of this order block, right? We tapped into it. All right, we tapped into it and we can see instantly decent momentum to the upside, right? We still kind of rejected off of this key zone over here, right? We did reject off this key zone over here, but you got to remember this is a game of ping pong where we go from one zone to the other. Now we're looking to see, right? Are we going to go back down here to roughly 0.0048, right? Are we going to hold decent structure? Are we going to create a higher low, right? Higher low, and then potentially start pushing this and start going to upside? Or are we going to go lower? Now, for me, right, I do think no matter what, at one point, this weekly candle probably does get swept. I would not be surprised if early August, the first few days, even the first week, is some type of manipulation, because let's say we close like this, right? Let's say we close like this at 0.0048. That means, the monthly candle closed great, the weekly candle closed like this. It would not surprise me if just in the beginning, right? Just in the beginning, we get swept the first 2 or 3 days of August, and then we start recovering, right? Because, when we look, we can nitpick two easy points of liquidity that are very easily and obtainable to get swept. And that is this weekly candle over here, and that is this weekly candle over here of July, right? These two bottoms would be very nice. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that this daily candle hasn't got tapped into yet and there's liquidity here makes me think that we will be tapping into it, especially that in terms of the daily, right? Right now, this is a horrible daily candle in terms of bullishness, right? This is horrible because this is a big rejection. So, yeah, but look, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, I'm still super, super bullish on Turbo. I do believe, other than maybe the first few days of manipulation to downside, overall with Turbo, we're looking to be getting out of this type of channel, this type of tube, right? We're looking to be getting out of it, even if there's one more sweep to the downside. And then I do expect nice pumps in August, right? Now, nice pumps doesn't mean automatically 100 or 200%, right? You guys saw what happened when you guys got overhyped with this huge daily candle, right? This candle had a purpose. It took out the key points. It took out key points over here, took out key points over here. And now, we're expecting to go to the upside very soon. But if we just have another big pump, you're going to be seeing this type of movement again. So I prefer slow and fundamental. I prefer slow and steady, kind of like the way we did over here, because that does sign that we are not going to be going back to that price action ever again, unless maybe bear season. But at that point, we have to see and analyze how everything played out during the peak of altcoin season to really know if we're ever going to come back to this price. But yeah, that is ultimately it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.